everyone, welcome to Hedgehog Hollow. Today's video is all about alcohol markers, and again, this is a viewer requested video. If you have a request, whether it's a tip, a technique, something you're struggling to store, you can drop those in the comments below. We always want to hear what you'd like to see here at Hedgehog Hollow. Well, today I'm going to be talking about alcohol markers and how to get that perfect blend. I know it can be elusive. Now, part of it is just practice. But 3 of my favorite pens here, and these techniques will work no matter what pens you like working with. So I have some Copics here, I have the Spectrum Noir tri-blends, and I have my Nouveau markers. And these techniques are going to work with all of them. They're at different price points, and we'll talk about that as we go along. I'm going to share with you my favorite ink pad to use and some of those favorite tips. So let's get going. So first of all, I think the paper is super important. This is the Tonic Ultra Smooth White. It is great for blending on. Now we do have a whole range of videos on alcohol ink markers. It's called the Alcohol Marker Skill Builder playlist, and I'll link that in the top right hand corner for you. I'm going to put this cardstock into my MISTI. And I'm sure if you watch the Hedgehog Hollow regularly, you'll know all about my sticky grid tip. I do not use magnets inside of my MISTI. This works so much better. And again, you can check that video link out in the top right-hand corner. Now, this stamp is called Have Courage. It's from Neat and Tangled. And this is what we're going to work with today. So I'm just going to stamp this out quickly. And my favorite ink to use is the Gina K Amalgam ink. Now for me, I like working with all the hybrid inks, but I find when I'm working with alcohol markers, this is just the best one to use in general. It gives me a nice crisp clear image. She does ones if you like to do no line coloring. There are tons of color options in that Amalgam range. And I think it's just one of the best ones out there. The Tonic Black Shadow is also a great one. So you could also try that one out. Also great for your alcohol colouring. So you can see I've got a nice crisp image there, and I'm just going to peel this off of my sticky grid, and I'll clean my stamp up later. Now, in the interest of doing a video, I'm going to give it a quick heat dry. You could just let this dry naturally and it would be absolutely fine. But heat setting it will just expedite that process. So we'll give it a quick heat dry. Now, the next tip is to colour on something porous. Now, I could colour directly on my glass mat, but I'm far more likely to get bleeds. So my next tip for you is to make sure you have a piece of paper underneath your colouring. So you want a piece of printer paper. Cardstock would work, but I like working with printer paper. It gives the ink somewhere to go, and it's going to make sure you have less bleeds. So now let's talk about the pens themselves. So here I have the Spectrum Noir Tri-Blend. I did a review of these post Creativation. You can check that out in the top right-hand corner too. I also have 3 different Copics that I picked out, the B01, the B02, and the B04. And then I grabbed the Nouveau pens too. I love my Nouveau alcohol markers. They also come in at a great price point. You get 3 in a pack. They come in blending trio, so these are the royal purples that I grabbed here. There's also blenders, there's metallics, tons and tons of options. And if you are a Perks member, you can get 10% off these at the Tonic store. Links in the video description as always. Now, as I say, all of these tips are going to work with all of these pens. So regardless of which option you go with, these tips are going to work for you. And if you have other options too, whether that's Pro markers or the Faber-Castell options or any of those, these tips are going to work for you. So you always want to start with your lightest colour. So what you're going to do is take your lightest option and start colouring. So colour in that part of your image and colour the whole part of your leaf. So I'm going to just go with this part of my leaf, and you're going to colour all over. And the first thing you want to do is saturate that part of the image. Another reason we want to have that paper underneath. And your first check is to look if you have the same image underneath. So if you can see that image underneath, you've put enough ink down. Now my image is a little bit blotchy underneath, so I'm going to lay some more ink down. So again, making sure I've filled that in, turn it over. Okay, I have a nice replication of my image underneath. So then I'm going to go to my middle shade, and I'm going to start adding some shading in, like so. And I like to go with a flick to my shading. So you can see I'm just adding those flicks in. These also have a little bit of a crumple. Now, shading techniques would be another video, but again, You just want to add them wherever you want them. Then you're going to go back to your lightest shade and you're going to blend those two areas together. And then you're going to go to your darkest shade and you're going to do the same. Whoops, I went outside the lines. Same thing again. Then you're going to go back to your mid shade. Blend out those lines, and then you go to your lightest shade. And that's how you get that perfect blend. So you go full image with your lightest shade, then you go to your mid shade, then you go back in with your lightest shade, then you go to your darkest shade, blend with your mid, back to your lightest, and you always go through those steps. Now, if you do, as I did, you color outside the lines or you get a little bit of a bleed, then you're going to use your blender pen. The blender pen idea is a little bit of a misnomer. Everyone says, oh, my blender pen is for blending. No, it's not. Your blender pen removes ink. So if you have a bleed, that's when you're going to take your blender pen and you're going to push that ink back inside the line. Your blender pen removes ink. It should be a remover pen or an eraser pen. It is not a blending pen. If you put your blender on top of that, you're actually going to pull ink out. That's what your blender pen is for. Now, as I say, these tips are going to work with all of these pens. So your tri-blend option, your tri-blends have 3 nibs. They have 3 colors in them like this. Now, I did do the review before. I wasn't aware that you can actually refill these. So this makes them even better because in one pen, you have 3 colors. You have a light, a mid, and a dark. So again, we can start coloring. So again, I can go in. And yes, we're going to have a very creative rainbow flower because now we're going to have a green leaf. But I'm going to saturate again. These are a little bit squeakier. That's one of the reasons that I don't use my Spectrum Noirs quite as much because I'm not a fan of the squeak. You can hear I did not get that with my Copics, but Copics are a much higher price point. So you may love the fact of these. Also, you in 3 pens, of course, much less storage space if you have a smaller craft area. And I'll link all of these pens up in the description as always. But same thing, I'm going to turn it over. Do I have a good image? No, I need to lay down more ink. So I'm going to color over again. You can hear, again, a little bit squeaky, but I love this cardstock. It has a nice coating on it that allows you to get a nice image. So I have that in there. Now I'm going to go to my mid color. I'm going to add my shading in. The other thing with the tri-blend is you only get 1 nib. So I'm going to add this shading in. Of course, I'm going a little bit further up because this is my mid shade. Now I'm going back with my lightest and I'm blending that in. And then I'm going to go in with my darkest shade, just adding the least. Back to my mid, so I've gone dark. A little bit more of the dark in there. Just crisping up those nice crinkle edges. Then I go in with my mid and blend that out. Same again, as I say, it doesn't matter what pen you have, you're always going to use that same technique. So mid again, and then back to lightest, we're going to blend. Not with our blender pen, we're blending with those 3 shades. And that's how I get those nice techniques to blend. So that's how I would do it with those. And then we put our mid in here, we put our dark back together. And again, as I said, you can do the same with our Nouveau. So our Nouveau comes in 3 shades. So these are our royal purples. We have a light, a mid, and a dark. They come 3 in a pack. And the reason I like these is they come at the same price point as something like your tri-blend, but you get 3 individual pens and you're going to get 2 nibs. So you get your fine nib and you get your chisel nib. So again, I'm going to show you that this technique works on the same way. So let me just make sure they're in order. We're also going to have a purple leaf in our plant. I mean, this is a very creative plant that we've grown here. But again, I'm going to saturate. So we're going to put down our purple. And these come in a ton of different colors. Every time we release a trend at Tonic, we release the colors to coordinate. And if you are a Hedgehog Hollow Perks member, you can get these at Tonic 10% off. We also have flash sales for extra savings for our Perks members. So check that out in the top right-hand corner too. You can click that join button up there and become a Perks member. There's lots of reasons to join. You get early access to all our video content. You get lots of savings on all of your crafty purchases. Lots and lots of reasons to join there. So check those out too. So I'm just going to, again, I'm adding in some shading with my mid-tone. I'm going to go back to my lightest and blend that out. It's so easy to work with alcohol pens. And then I'm going to go in with my darkest shade and just add a little bit less. Like that. And then I'm going to go into my mid-tone. Again, you always go dark, mid-light, so you're going to go through all those shading. If you introduce 4 colors, you would go through all 4 colors. So make sure you always go through all of those colors each time. So again, you can see that's how I get those perfect blends. And if you go outside the lines, if you get a bleed, then that's when you're going to use that blender pen. You're not going to use the blender pen to blend those colors together because your blender pen really is a bleaching pen. Your blender pen is going to take away colors. If you go outside the line, you get a bleed, you're going to use that blender pen to push that color back in. That's what your blender pen is for. So there's some top tips, as I say. This works for any alcohol ink marker that you have. So if you have Pro markers, if you have Copics, if you have Spectrum Noirs, if you have the Arteza pens, this is going to work for all of them. So I hope you've enjoyed today's tip and I hope it helped you if you made the request of how to get the perfect blend and work with alcohol markers. As I say, if you have a request for a video, pop them in the comments below. We love reading what you would like to see here at Hedgehog Hollow. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, and of course hit that join button. All of your links are in the video description below too. We would love if you gave us a thumbs up as well if you enjoyed today's tip, and I will see you again tomorrow for some more video techniques. I'll see you then. Happy stamping, everyone. Bye.